Roger Ebert was one of our nation's most beloved film critics. With his partner Gene Siskel, Roger took film criticism from the pages of newspapers and into our living rooms with the television show At the Movies. Throughout his life, Roger shared his love of film, not only by conveying what makes a good movie, but which films were his favorites. This is not a show about those movies. This is a show about the movies Roger loathed, the films he despised, the movies he absolutely hated. Movies like Final Destination 2. On this episode of Does This Movie Suck? Hi everyone and welcome to the show. My name is Scott and I just want to start with this. I love horror movies, but the Hollywood studio system has a horror problem. The problem is simple. The studios can't leave well enough alone. Any somewhat creative horror film that comes along and has any type of success is mimicked and copied until the public becomes exhausted. And this is not a new problem. The slasher films of the 1980s were copied and repeated until they fell out of fashion for more supernatural experiences. Scream brought back the slasher film in a big bad way until M. Night Shyamalan opened the studio's eye to the concept of a scary PG-13 film. These films dominated for the better part of the early 2000s. Asian horror inspired filmmakers like Eli Roth to bring those types of films to the United States. The genre would become commonly known as torture porn. When we tire of the blood and violence, supernatural thrillers would make a comeback, but this time with a hard R rating. There's a constant ebb and flow with horror. Each subgenre gets killed off because the studios just beat them into the ground with sequel after sequel after sequel. They don't know when to stop, so when the audience sours on them, they just move on to the next thing. Now I say studio films because there's an undercurrent of smaller horror films that are just killing it right now. No pun intended. Films by Ty West, just for an example, are small, scary, and effective genre pieces which don't really lend themselves to sequels. So when I say I love horror movies, I really do love them. But Hollywood tends to kill this genre over and over, and from the ashes it rises again. And that brings us to Final Destination 2. It's a movie we're pulling from Roger Ebert's book, Your Movie Sucks. The original Final Destination is a hard R slasher, but with a twist. Based on a spec script by Jeffrey Reddick, which was originally pitched as an episode of The X-Files, Final Destination cost $23 million to make and made more than $100 million at the box office. That film starred Devon Sawa as Alex, a kid who's joining his high school class trip to France. Once he's on the plane, Alex has a vision of the plane exploding upon takeoff, killing everyone on board. After he realizes it's just a vision, he understandably freaks out, and he gets a small number of his classmates kicked off the plane. While they're arguing about their situation, Alex's vision becomes true. Then, one by one, each of the survivors are killed in some horrific Rube Goldberg-style death, as Alex realizes that he has interrupted Death's plan for these kids. See, in these movies, Death is a character, ever present, ever knowing, ever stalking. If you interrupt Death's plan, Death is coming for you. The film is largely a detective movie with the survivors trying to figure out the concept of the film. Final Destination is a fun, if not remarkable film, but it made a heck of a return on investment, so you know there had to be a sequel. Horror sequels, very generally speaking, follow one trend. More of the same, louder and bloodier. As the series progresses, the characters fail to be actual people and are treated more as meat for the grinder. The writers of these films feed our bloodlust by creating characters that we hate and we really want to see die. Final Destination 2 falls right into this trap. The film is the story of Kimberly. She's played by A.J. Cook. After a short refresher of the original film,
it's a disaster that's affected many, none more so than Mount Abraham High School, which lost 40 students and 4 faculty members in the crash.
We learn that Kimberly is taking a trip with her friends during spring break. On their way, Kimberly has a vision of the car she's driving being involved in a massive pileup. After waking from her vision, Kimberly thinks that something's wrong. She freaks out, blocks traffic, and saves a group of people from dying in the carnage that occurs when her vision becomes true.
You have to calm down.
Why won't you listen to me? Oh my God.
In the chaos of the crash, a truck swerves. Kimberly is saved, but all of her friends die. A handful of survivors are taken to the police station for some reason. Do police usually take people that aren't involved in a crash down to the police station? Hey, it looks like you got missed by that semi by mere millimeters. You're going downtown with me. If you think about it, Kimberly's actions would ripple on forever. It's not just this small group of people that she saved, it may be hundreds. But it's a screenplay contrivance to introduce us to the small group of victims of Death's plan. They have names, I didn't learn them, it doesn't matter in the long haul, so we have Mom, her son, a lottery winner, the druggie, and two angry people. We'll call them Angry Guy and Angry Girl. I mean, they're barely characters, and this is barely a scene. It's basically just a rehash of the first film.
Surely you must have read about the kid who had a dream about a plane blowing up, so he got all his buddies off the plane, and then the thing blew up just like in his dream.
And that's basically the problem with this film. Final Destination was such a high-concept horror movie that any sequel will just spend its time rehashing that concept. The fun of the first film is watching a group of characters figure out what's going on, which leaves nothing for any sequel. There's nothing new to the concept here. If the first film is essentially a detective film, now that that knowledge is commonplace, there's no intrigue here. Especially since the first film pretty much told us there's nothing you can do to stop Death's plan. Anyway, our characters part ways and the deaths begin. First up, our lottery winner. Now, I'm not going to show you the deaths, but I'm going to take you right up to the edge. Gotta stay advertiser friendly for YouTube. A lot of these deaths are pretty convoluted. After tossing some spaghetti out of a window, you know, as you do, our subject turns on some incubus, takes off his shirt, and gets cooking. You know, as you do. There's a lot of elements to his death, so stay with me. He puts some oil in a pan, a magnetic letter falls off the fridge and into some Chinese food that he puts into the microwave. He takes some time to admire his new watch and ring that he bought with his lottery winnings. The magnetic letter sparks in the microwave and he gets startled, losing the grip on his ring, which then falls down the garbage disposal. He knocks the pan off the stove, starting a larger fire. After minutes of pulling, he gets his hand free and tries to put out the fire. This doesn't go well. That ever-present death closes the windows to his apartment, so he breaks a window to escape the fire. At the bottom of the fire escape is where our character meets his fate.
Jesus Christ!
Let that be a lesson, kids. Don't throw your old spaghetti out of the window. Now that you understand the Rube Goldberg-style traps that this movie sets for its characters, I'm not going to detail each death, because this video would be 12 years long. Next, there are several scenes where characters read about the first movie on the internet. A solid 75% of this movie is recapping the first Final Destination. They should have called it Final Exposition, am I right? Anyone? Moving on. Kimberly figures out that the stupidly named Clear Rivers, that's Ali Larter's character from the first film, well, she's still alive and has locked herself into a padded room at an asylum in an attempt to stay away from death. Kimberly tries to convince Clear to leave the asylum and help out the new survivors. It doesn't go well.
I think you're a coward. You hide out in here because you're too damn bitter and selfish to help any other person.
In the effort of full disclosure, I have a first-class crush on AJ Cook in this movie. I know she's married with kids in real life, but she's lovely, isn't she? Kind of girl you can take home to mom. Kim does leave with some new information, though.
You said that you die in the order you originally meant to. But my friends died last in my premonition, not first.
Kim and Clear come to the conclusion that while in the first movie death kills in the order you were supposed to die, this time it's working backwards. Okay, so now that Kimberly has that information, the movie decides to cheat quite a bit. Armed with knowing who is going to die next, Kim starts having visions of the specific circumstances leading to each death. It's pretty convenient for the characters as they know exactly what to protect themselves from. The whole movie falls apart because of this. It becomes scene after scene of them arriving too late to someone's death scene. And it kills any mystery the film might have had, so we can pretty much blast through the rest of the film.
Did you see that?
See what?
Pigeons!
Pigeons?
It's a sign. Nora and Tim are gonna be attacked by pigeons.
I'm not following you.
Kim is making friends with the handsome cop from the police station. We'll call him Handsome Cop. Anyway, guess what? They arrive too late and Tim dies!
Hey, whoa, whoa!
Here's a fun fact. This actor's name is James Kirk. Handsome Cop takes Kim home and look who shows up.
I hope you're ready for this.
It's Clear Rivers, everyone. The threesome head to the morgue where they meet the Undertaker from the first film. Exposition, exposition, exposition. The Undertaker gives them a new piece of information, and that information is this. New life will interrupt and stop Death's plan. On their way back, they stop for gas. Clear thinks that everything's gonna kill her.
New life defeats death. Follow the signs. I mean, where did you find that guy?
And Kim has another super convenient vision of someone drowning in a van. The survivors meet at Handsome Cop's apartment where Claire tries to convince them to look out for each other. It doesn't go well.
I gotta call bullshit. I mean, I've sat here and listened to all your theories and all your stories, and I think it's just all bullshit.
Oh my god, is that a good soundbite. I'm gonna save that one for later. We're gonna use that in other episodes, just you wait. Mom and Angry Guy decide to leave. Mom's phone falls on the floor of the elevator, and her braid gets stuck in a basket of prosthetic arms. Because that's a thing you see every day. I mean, how many times have you been walking down the street and see a guy with a basket of prosthetic arms? So Mom's dead now. In anguish over Mom's death, Angry Guy tries to kill himself so he doesn't die a painful death. But it's not his time to die, so the gun doesn't fire. Our group of survivors think they've missed another survivor. We'll call her Pregnant Mom. Our cast sets out to find her.
I mean, someone in this car is about to get whacked, right? Did the rest of us really feel like sitting next to him? Or her?
Spoiler alert, it's her. Our heroes have a long conversation discovering that they are connected to the first movie in some way. It turns out they're connected because... Exposition! Our missing pregnant survivor is in jail because the cops think she's driving a stolen van. Since she's pregnant, that's actually 2 survivors. Her water breaks and the cop takes her to the hospital. During the drive, a tire pops and the police van nearly misses the SUV holding all of the other survivors, and both cars crash because this is a world where brakes don't exist. A TV station arrives and their van nearly misses this kid that was just trying to help. Angry Girl dies when the firemen are trying to rescue her. Her cigarette lights a trail of gas, and that creates an explosion. That sends some razor wire to a drug addict, killing him. Now that most of our cast is dead, it's time to get to the endgame. The ending of this movie is an absolute mess. Pregnant woman and Angry Guy go to the hospital. Kimberly has yet another vision, this time of a nurse trying to kill someone, and it's not shown who. But Kimberly thinks that someone is our pregnant mother. Meanwhile, Angry Guy is suffocating on some tubes that are being pulled taut by Death. Seriously, this Death isn't even Rube Goldberg, it's just defiance of gravity. Clear runs off to find Angry Guy while the other 2 find the woman and her newborn baby. They convince themselves that if the woman has the baby, then this will be the new life that will stop Death's plan.
I need to know if the baby's alright!
The baby is born and all is fine. But wait, Kimberly has another vision, revealing that the pregnant mom was never going to die in the crash. Which is true, we never see her die in the initial crash. I checked. If you were taking notes, you would have known that. So Kim has another vision that tells her that whomever was driving the van has bloody hands. Somehow this sends Clear to Angry Guy, which induces oxygen into his room, and kaboom. Now Kim has those bloody hands and becomes convinced that if she dies, then everyone lives, which is based on nothing. This idea is based on nothing. This movie's full of stupid characters making stupid decisions. For a group of people that are obsessed with the events of the first film, they don't know the absolute rule from the first film, which is proven by Clear's death. You can't fool Death's plan. Just live your life.
I have to die.
No, that's crazy.
Kim tells the cop to get the nurse that she's now convinced will save her life. She jumps in the van, which is actually an ambulance. She drowns, and she's brought back to life by the nurse. It's all over. Not really. Fast forward to one oversaturated scene later, and we're having dinner with Kimberly, handsome cop, and that kid that was narrowly missed by the TV station van. They start having a conversation about the kid, the guy that was almost hit by the van.
And your friend Rory, he pulled him back at the last second. Saved his life.
You never told me that, Peter.
It's not over. It's never over. It's kind of the thing with these movies. So that's Final Destination 2. Does it suck? Kinda. It's not good. It's filled with exposition of another better film and characters that are just meat for the grinder. If you saw the first one like I did, sitting through this one is a chore. I know about this other movie, just tell me a new story. But having said that, the problems with this film are more widespread than just Final Destination 2. These problems, the rehashing of concepts, the meat for the grinder characters, the feeding of our bloodlust, it's all a symptom of making unlimited sequels of a movie that should never have had a sequel in the first place. The original Final Destination is not some amazing piece of art. It's a perfectly fun detective-type movie. It'd be great as just a one-and-done film. But that's not how LA rolls. In this case, it's Hollywood that sucks. But it's another off the list. I've listed my social media below so you can follow me there. I hope this episode has gained your subscription. And join us next time when we ask the question, does this movie suck? What is our next movie? Oh no, I think this one deserves a new graphics package.